Let the mind sit still just a little longer. No need to think. No need to look for meaning. Simply listen, as if listening to water drifting by. Late in the night, there are collisions in life that arrive very softly, yet stir the entire inner world. There are moments when we feel offended, treated unfairly, but sometimes what strikes us has no one steering it at all. In Buddhist teaching, much suffering does not arise from events themselves, but from the way our mind interprets those events. Tonight, before sinking deeper into sleep, let us listen together to a very old story, very simple, yet powerful enough to calm the waves within. The story is about a boat drifting on the water, and about how we exhaust ourselves when we forget that many boats in life are in truth. Someone called softly, "Careful," but the other boat did not change its course. It kept drifting on, quietly, without avoiding, moving straight toward his boat. A feeling of irritation began to rise. The man raised his voice. "Move aside, you're about to hit me." The peaceful moment of sunset was suddenly filled with tension and unease. He watched the boat draw closer, his breathing quickening, an unnamed anger swelling inside his chest. And then, the two boats collided. He was ready to pour out all his anger on the careless person before him. But when he looked closely, he froze. The other boat was empty. No one was there. Just an empty boat, carried by the current, no intention, no ill will. In that very moment, the anger dissolved. He sat in silence, feeling foolish for having shouted at an unmanned boat. What had changed? Not the situation. The boats had still collided. Only understanding had shifted. There was no bad intention to blame. No disrespect to feed the anger. No one to accuse. The Buddha once taught, people are not punished for their anger, but by their anger. The story of the empty boat quietly reveals this truth. Our anger, irritation, resentment rarely come from the event itself. They arise from the story our mind creates about another person's intention. In Zen practice, this is the expression of the ego. The self that always wants to be protected, to be acknowledged, to be right. When someone cuts us off, the ego whispers, "They disrespected me." When someone doesn't reply, the ego quickly concludes, "They don't care about me." And so the mind divides the world into friend and enemy, right and wrong, placing itself at the center. But if we look more deeply, perhaps, that driver is rushing to a hospital. That colleague is carrying a heavy burden. That friend who hasn't replied may be drowning in exhaustion or quiet sorrow. So many times each day, we encounter empty boats. And yet we ourselves fill them up with assumptions, with wounds, with stories built by the ego. In mindfulness practice, we learn to recognize that moment. To notice when the chest tightens. To notice when the breath grows shallow. To notice when the world narrows and the mind turns a single shade of anger. These signs are not enemies. They are bells of awareness, inviting us to pause, to observe, and not rush to believe the story in our head. Zen Master Dogen once said, "To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self." When we forget the self that constantly defends and asserts, we begin to see clearly. Many collisions in life are simply accidental waves in the vast river of causes and conditions. Not aimed at anyone, not personal. The Buddha also taught, Holding on to anger is like grasping a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. The one who gets burned first is you. Each time we react with anger, we are the first to suffer. We are the first to grow weary. To recognize the empty boat is to open a door for ourselves, a way out of that suffering. Tonight, as the day slowly settles, you may gently recall a moment when you felt hurt or disrespected. Look again very slowly. In that moment, was there an empty boat? Was it your own mind that quietly filled it with judgment and assumption? And if you see that clearly, you may feel a spacious opening, a gentle relief in no longer needing to strain and protect the ego. The Buddha said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." The stillness you are looking for is already here, the moment you stop filling empty boats with the ego's stories. And now, let your mind continue to settle. Together, we will step onto a quiet mountain path, where a monk faces another unexpected trial. The next story is of the monk and the tiger. Long ago, deep in forest and mountain, there was a small temple. And in that temple lived a gentle monk, quiet and deeply awake. Each day he walked very slowly along the narrow paths of the mountain. He moved through the forest without hurry, without seeking anything, listening to the wind through the leaves, watching sunlight slip through the branches, resting in the teachings of the Buddha echoing softly within his heart. In the stillness of the mountains, he felt a profound peace. No need for words, no need for thought, only the present moment and life breathing with him. One day, on a narrow mountain path, his steps still steady and slow, a sudden sound erupted. A roar tore through the silence of the forest. In an instant, the monk's heart pounded. His body froze. When he turned his head, a great tiger was charging toward him through the tangled brush. Its eyes locked onto him, its powerful body moving fast and fierce. Instinct arose. The monk turned and ran. His brown robe fluttered behind him as he rushed down the winding path. The heavy footsteps of the tiger grew closer and closer. In desperation, he saw a vine hanging down the cliff. Without time to think, he grabbed the vine and slid downward, hoping to find a way out below. But when he looked down, his heart sank. At the base of the cliff, another tiger paced back and forth, silently waiting. He could not climb up. He could not go down. The monk hung suspended in midair, one tiger above, one tiger below. It seemed there was no escape. And then, in that moment of hanging, as all thoughts began to slow, his gaze gently settled on something very small. Right beside the cliff, within arm's reach, a wild strawberry plant was growing. On its branch, there was only one ripe red strawberry. The monk no longer thought of the tigers. He did not think of life or death. He did not think of fear. He calmly reached out, picked the strawberry, and brought it to his mouth. And he tasted. The sweetness spread very slowly. Fresh food. Perfect. In that moment, there was only the sweetness of the strawberry. Only the moment that was happening. Surrounded by danger, he remained at ease. Not because the situation changed, but because his mind had come to rest in the present. He accepted that he could not control everything that happened, but he could still live fully in this moment. The monk smiled, for that fragile sweetness reminded him that the beauty of life can appear even when we are standing at the edge of a cliff. The Buddha taught, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Rest the mind in the present moment." That is the heart of the story of the monk and the tiger. We are the same. Each of us is living, suspended between two tigers. The tiger of the past, regrets, old wounds, words left unsaid. And the tiger of the future, worries, fears, things that have not yet happened. Our minds are constantly being pulled upward and downward. Why is it so hard for us to stay in the present? Zen teaches that the human mind was shaped to survive. It is always scanning for danger, always calculating defense. But when we bring that mechanism into our inner life, we lose the only moment that truly exists. The mind whispers, happiness will come when the past is resolved. Happiness will come when the future is secured. But peace can only be touched right here. Look deeply into yourself. How much suffering comes from replaying things that can no longer be changed? The sentence that still hurts. An opportunity that passed. A relationship that ended. Those are the tigers above. And how much anxiety comes from things that may never happen? An upcoming meeting, a medical result, financial worries. Those are the tigers below. Between the two, there is always a strawberry. A small joy that is present now. It might be sunlight touching the skin, the warmth of a soft blanket, the breath moving in and out, the quiet of the night. These things are always here, but we often miss them because we are watching the tigers. Zen masters teach that each moment comes only once. When we truly understand how precious that is, we naturally want to stay fully present, no matter the circumstance. The Buddha said, "The secret of health for body and mind is not to grieve the past, not to worry about the future, but to live mindfully in the present moment." Practice begins with noticing where the mind is going. Is it pulling you back to yesterday, or running ahead to tomorrow? And very gently, we bring it back to the strawberry of this moment. Tonight, when thoughts of tomorrow arise, or old memories return, remember the monk and the strawberry. Right now, is there a sense of ease you can taste? Perhaps the breath slowing down, the weight of your body being supported, the stillness surrounding you. The Buddha taught, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. When we learn to taste the strawberries along the way, we realize that peace does not wait for the tigers to disappear. It is present right in the middle of them. And now, as the mind has grown quieter, we will listen to another profound teaching about the nature of suffering. A very simple metaphor, very ordinary. It is the story of the two arrows. One day, the Buddha sat with his disciples in a quiet forest. And there is another habit of the mind that causes us to shoot additional arrows into ourselves. It is the tendency to wander endlessly. The mind does not remain with the experience that is here, but continuously generates streams of connected thoughts. A mild headache becomes a long chain of worry. Is this serious? What if it gets worse? Why does this always happen to me? I won't be able to work tomorrow. Each thought like this is another arrow driven deeper into the old wound. These habits often operate very quietly. We do not realize that we are hurting ourselves. That is why the Buddha emphasized mindfulness as the medicine. Through mindfulness practice, we gradually begin to see these patterns right as they arise. We learn to distinguish between the first arrow, the unavoidable pain of life, and the second arrows, the mental reactions that we can choose not to shoot. The Buddha taught, mind precedes all things. Mind creates the world. Each time we meet pain with resistance, with identification, with endless interpretation, we plant more suffering. And each time we meet pain with awareness, with gentle acceptance, we open the possibility for healing and growth. Think of a disappointment in your life. It may be a rejection, a failure, a loss. The event itself is the first arrow, and the initial emotion that comes with it is natural. But the arrows that follow often appear very quickly. It's always me. I will never succeed. If only I had done it differently. Everything is so unfair. These thoughts do not change the situation, but they deepen the original pain. A Zen teacher once said, "Pain is not something to avoid. It needs to be felt without resistance." This is precisely how we walk skillfully with the first arrow. We do not deny the pain. We do not pretend it is not there. We simply bring kind attention to the experience, without adding judgment, without adding story. The Buddha said, "If you are walking on the right path, just keep walking." The right path is not running away from pain, but turning back to face it with awareness. When we return in this way, we learn how to be with difficulty without making it heavier. Tonight, when you notice an uncomfortable sensation in the body, or an emotion rising in the mind, try to listen very slowly. Which is the first arrow? And which are the arrows the mind is preparing to shoot next? Can you stay with the natural pain with gentleness, instead of resistance? The Buddha taught, the path is not in the sky. The path is in the heart. Freedom from suffering does not come from escaping the human experience, but from meeting it with wisdom and compassion. And as the mind settles one layer deeper, we will enter another story, one that speaks to the universal nature of loss, and how understanding it can bring peace. It is the story of the mustard seed. Long ago, there was a young woman named Kisa. She was gentle, devoted to her family, and deeply loving toward her only son. But one day, the child fell ill and passed away. The pain was so great that Kisa could not accept the truth. She carried her child's body from house to house, begging people to save him. At each door she pleaded, "Please help me. My child has died. Is there anyone who can bring him back?" But everywhere she went, the answer was the same. No one could do anything. With each step, the pain grew heavier. Her heart felt as if it were breaking apart. Finally, someone said to her, "Go and see the Buddha." A fragile thread of hope flickered to life again. Kisa went to the Buddha, who was sitting quietly beneath a tree, surrounded by his disciples. She knelt down, placed her child's body before him, and begged in despair. The Buddha looked at her with eyes full of compassion. He understood the depth of her pain, and he also knew that she needed a greater truth to be freed. He spoke very softly, "I can help you. But first, bring me a mustard seed." Kisa was overjoyed. "I will go at once." But the Buddha continued, "The mustard seed must come from a house that has never known death." Kisa hurried away. She knocked on every door. And in every home, she heard a story of loss. Someone had lost a husband, someone a mother, someone a child, someone a brother or sister. As evening fell, Kisa returned empty-handed, but her mind had changed. She knelt before the Buddha and said quietly, "I could not find a single house that has never known death." The Buddha nodded, "You have understood. Loss is part of life. No one escapes it." In that moment, Kisa realized that her pain was not unique. It was shared by all beings. That understanding helped her let go. She laid her child to rest with mindfulness, and for the first time, found a small measure of peace amid impermanence. The Buddha taught, all that is born will pass away. Resisting this truth only deepens suffering. To recognize impermanence does not make us cold. It helps us love more deeply, live more fully, and let go more gently. In your own life, when facing loss, a person, a relationship, a season, can you remember the lesson of the mustard seed? Not to make the pain smaller, but to see that you are not alone. Loss is the shared rhythm of being human. The Buddha said, in the end, only three things matter: how much you have loved, how gently you have lived, and how gracefully you have let go. And next, we will listen to another story about the balance of the mind amid constant change. It is the story of the farmer and the horse. Long ago, in a small, peaceful village, there lived a farmer who led a simple life. One morning, the farmer woke to find his stable empty. His only horse was gone. The news spread quickly. Neighbors gathered, shaking their heads in sympathy. "How unlucky," they said. "Without a horse, how will you live? What a disaster." The farmer listened, his face calm. He replied softly, "Maybe." The neighbors were surprised. They looked at one another, unable to understand how he could remain so composed in what seemed like misfortune. They left, believing the farmer was denying reality. A few days later, something unexpected happened. The horse returned, and it did not return alone. It led a whole herd of wild horses down from the mountains. Now the farmer had not one horse, but many. The neighbors came again. This time, their voices were full of excitement. "How fortunate! You are truly blessed. You are rich now." The farmer smiled gently. And once again he said, "Maybe." This calm response confused them even more. They could not understand why he did not rejoice. A few days later, the farmer's son tried to tame one of the wild horses. While riding, he was thrown off and broke his leg badly. He could no longer work the fields for a long time. The neighbors came again, this time with sympathy. "How unfortunate," they said. "Your son is badly injured." The farmer remained steady. "Maybe." Now the neighbors were truly puzzled. No matter what happened, good or bad, he responded the same way. A few weeks later, war broke out. Soldiers came to the village, taking all the strong young men to the battlefield. Many families sent their sons away in tears. But the farmer's son, because of his broken leg, was left behind. The neighbors came once more. This time they said in awe, "How lucky! Because of that accident, your son is safe." The farmer simply nodded. "Maybe." The Buddha taught, all things are impermanent. All things are becoming. That understanding is the root of the farmer's wisdom. He did not rush to name things as fortune or misfortune, for he knew life is always moving. What we call a blessing today may tomorrow open into a trial, and what we call a disaster today may tomorrow be what protects us. The human mind has a habit of dividing good and bad, gain and loss. That habit is what causes us to rise and fall with circumstances. Meditation does not teach us to be indifferent to life. It teaches us to remain steady amid change. This is equanimity, the balance of the heart, caring without being swept away, loving without losing peace. When we stop forcing life to match our expectations, we begin to touch freedom. Tonight, if you are thinking about something you have labeled as unlucky or fortunate, try holding it within two gentle words. Maybe. and feel the lightness of no longer needing to judge. And now, as the mind settles one layer deeper, we arrive at another story. A story about the power of non-reaction. It is the story of the Buddha and the angry man. One day, while the Buddha was teaching in a quiet forest, a man approached him. His eyes were filled with anger. His heart burned with jealousy and resentment. He stood before the Buddha and hurled insults. Harsh words were thrown again and again. But the Buddha remained seated, his face serene, his breath soft. That silence made the man even angrier. He shouted louder, expecting a reaction. But there was still only silence. Finally, the man grew exhausted and asked, "Why don't you respond? Aren't you angry?" The Buddha looked at him with gentle eyes and asked softly, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man thought and replied, "To the one who offered it." The Buddha smiled, "Just so. If I do not accept your anger, then to whom does it belong?" The man fell silent. He suddenly understood that anger had never touched the Buddha. It had only burned himself. The Buddha said, "Anger is like holding a burning coal with the intention of throwing it at someone else. The one who is burned is always oneself." In that moment, the man bowed his head. The anger slowly dissolved. And in his heart, for the first time, peace appeared. The Buddha taught, "You are not punished for anger. You are punished by anger itself." Each minute of anger is a minute away from peace. When we learn not to receive toxic emotions, we return freedom to ourselves. Now, let the breath slow a little more. No need to think. No need to react. Just listen and allow the mind to drift gently into deeper sleep. The Buddha once taught, "Hatred cannot end hatred. Only love can dissolve hatred. This is an eternal law." This teaching is not meant to be debated, but to be felt in stillness. When someone treats us harshly, when words carry sharp edges, when a gaze holds judgment, we often believe that responding with anger is how we protect ourselves. But pause and listen very slowly. Can fire put out fire? Can shouting soften shouting? Or does it only cause the spiral to spin faster, deeper, more painful? The Buddha offered a very simple image. If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does it belong? So too, if someone brings you anger, insults, or bitterness, and you do not receive them, then all of it returns to the one who offered it. Negative emotions only have weight when we choose to hold them. Not because we are weak, but because we choose not to carry an extra burden. This does not mean turning away from injustice. The Buddha did not turn his back on those who were angry. He remained present, kept listening, kept looking directly. But he did not react from the ego. He responded with compassion, with awareness, with wisdom. That is the heart of non-reaction in Zen. Not escaping life, but stepping into life with a different quality of mind. A Zen master once taught, when anger appears, hold it the way you would hold a crying child. Do not push it away. Do not scold it. Do not indulge it. Simply notice it, breathe with it, and give it space to dissolve. Because if we truly love ourselves, we will not hurt others through our own wounds. Letting go of anger is not a sacrifice. It is the deepest form of self-care. Tonight, when the memory of a difficult conversation suddenly arises, try seeing it as a gift in your hands. You can set it down. You do not need to carry it into sleep. Anger is like a glowing ember. The tighter you hold it, the more it burns your hand. Let go, the hand cools, the mind softens, and in that softness, you step into another story. Lighter drüber. In a quiet Zen temple high in the mountains, there lived an old monk who led a very simple life. Each day, he sat in meditation, drank tea, and quietly guided his students. One afternoon, as sunlight slanted across the wooden porch, the monk lifted a clay teacup and gazed at it for a long time, a very long time. Then he smiled gently and said softly, "This cup is already broken." The students looked at one another. The cup was still whole, not a single crack. One asked quietly, "Master, the cup is still intact. Why do you say it is broken?" The monk set the cup down with great care, his voice low and calm. "In the way I see, it is already broken. Tomorrow, or many years from now, it will break. When I understand this, I can truly enjoy this cup of tea without fear of loss." The room grew silent. The monk continued, "Everything in life is like this cup, beautiful, precious, and impermanent. When we know this, we do not love less, we love more deeply. We do not cling, we cherish fully. Impermanence does not make life less beautiful. It makes every moment precious. When we stop demanding that things last forever, the mind becomes at ease. We no longer live in fear of loss, but in presence. Tonight, as you lie down, allow the cups in your life to rest in open hands. No squeezing, no grasping, just breathing and allowing everything to be exactly as it is. And then, within that gentle flow, one last story arrives softly. Long ago, when the Buddha was traveling from village to village, a wealthy merchant offered him a very fine robe. The Buddha looked at the robe, then at the merchant, and said kindly, "I thank you for your sincerity, but this robe is better suited for someone who is cold." He advised the man to bring the robe to a poor person who was shivering in the wind. The merchant did so. As he placed the robe around that person's shoulders, his heart warmed more than any praise ever could. The Buddha taught, giving brings joy from the moment the intention arises, while giving, and even when remembering it later. Because to give is not only to offer an object, but to open the heart. When the heart opens, the mind becomes light. When the mind is light, sleep comes naturally. And now, there is nothing left to hold. Me the breath all stories can begin to fade. You may rest now. And there is one deeper layer to the story of that robe. The Buddha did not only refuse the gift, he also saw clearly the motivation behind the giving. The merchant wished to make merit, to express reverence. But the Buddha showed him a deeper path, a quieter one that touched real suffering directly. Not adding luxury to a life that already had enough, but easing the cold in another person's life. In today's world, we often confuse giving with shopping. We offer expensive gifts to those who already have plenty, and then measure kindness by price tags. The Buddha invites us to pause and ask more deeply. These resources, if placed in the right place, where could they truly reduce suffering? He once taught, if you truly understood the power of generosity, you would not let a single meal pass without sharing. Giving transforms not only the receiver, but the giver as well. Each time we give with a clear heart, the ego thins a little, and the thread connecting us to all beings is woven more tightly. Zen teaches the perfection of generosity, not only material things, but time, listening, energy, and full presence. Sometimes, The most precious gift is simply sitting beside someone, listening to them, without interrupting, without fixing, without judging. The Buddha also emphasized mindfulness in giving, not giving out of habit, not giving to be praised, not giving to satisfy the ego, giving to the right person at the right time for the real need. When giving arises from compassion, a very quiet joy is born, the joy of seeing another suffer less. Tonight, before sleep, remember the times you have given. Listen gently to the feeling in your heart, giving out of obligation and giving out of love. How are they different? And in that deepening stillness, we move into another story. Two monks, one old. A young monk walking together with an elder along a long road. They pass through forests, over mountains, through valleys where the wind is still, their footsteps moving in harmony with the breath. They come to a wide river. The water has risen after the rain. On the bank stands a young woman, worried, afraid to cross. Without hesitation, the old monk lifts her, carries her across the river, sets her gently on the far shore, and then quietly continues on. The woman bows in gratitude and goes on her way. The two monks walk again in silence. But the young monk's mind is restless. Hours pass, and the thoughts keep circling. At last, he can no longer hold them back. "Master, we have vowed not to touch women. Why did you carry her?" The old monk smiles kindly. "I set her down by the river long ago. And you? Why are you still carrying her in your mind?" The words fall, light, yet deep. The young monk grows silent. The teacher carried a body for only a few moments. The student carried an image for many hours. The real burden is not on the shoulders, but in the mind. The Buddha taught, as the mind thinks, so we become. So much of our suffering comes from not knowing how to set things down. An old argument, a past mistake, a worry that has not yet arrived. All of it is like carrying someone across a river and never putting them down. Meditation teaches us how to recognize and release. Not forgetting but not carrying. Returning to the breath, to the feet touching the ground, to this moment. The old monk embodies non-attachment, doing what needs to be done, then returning to the present. Tonight, as you lie down, if an old thought returns, gently ask yourself, "Who am I still carrying across the river?" And then set it down. At last, a story very familiar, yet always new. A scholar comes to a Zen master to ask about Zen. The master pours tea. The cup fills, the tea overflows. The scholar panics. It's full. There's no room for more. The master looks at him, his voice very gentle. "You are like this cup, full of opinions, full of knowledge. How can I teach you when you are not yet empty?" In that moment, knowing becomes a barrier. The Buddha once said, "The beginner's mind holds countless possibilities. The mind that believes it knows holds very few." We fear not knowing, because not knowing makes us feel vulnerable. Yet it is precisely in not knowing that wisdom begins to sprout. Meditation teaches us each day to pour out a little more. Less certainty, less judgment, less of the solid self, so that life can enter the mind just as it is. Tonight, before drifting into sleep, try setting the cup down. Nothing more is needed, just emptiness and breathing, empty and at ease. Sleep will arrive as naturally as water finding its way back to the sea. Gently let go of what you think you already know about relaxation, about sleep, and even about the stories echoing in this space. In this moment, can you listen as if it were the very first time your ears touched these words? No analyzing, no comparing, no naming, just listening and allowing space to open. When you stop trying to understand, the mind naturally begins to widen, lighter, more open. The Buddha taught, when a boat is empty, it drifts lightly on the water. In the same way, when the mind is no longer full of fixed views, life itself becomes gentler. Now, let old thoughts settle like mud sinking to the bottom of clear water. No need to push them away. Just do not stir them. And in that stillness, we move together into another story. A very simple story about wisdom arising where no one expects it. Long ago, a Zen master and his disciples were walking along a village road after the rainy season. The path was muddy, earth clinging to their heels. Each step required attention. From afar, they saw a large temple on a high hill, curved roofs glowing in the afternoon sun. The group decided to visit. The temple was magnificent, golden statues gleaming, gardens carefully tended, monks in pristine robes performing rituals slow and solemn. The disciples felt awe. They stood quietly for a long time before such beauty and perfection. As they left, one disciple asked respectfully, "Master, is this the path to enlightenment?" The Zen master did not answer. Silently, he led them back to the muddy road they had walked before. At a waterlogged patch of ground, he stopped, knelt down, and placed his hand in the mud. Then he drew a simple circle right there on the earth. Truth is also present here. The disciples fell silent, and within that silence, something began to open. Truth does not live only in lofty places. Wisdom does not dwell only in perfect forms. Mud, so often avoided, shares the same nature as golden halls and jeweled roofs. The Buddha reminded us, if you cannot find truth right where you are standing, where else will you look? That muddy road is everyday life. Confusing emotions, unfinished relationships, repetitive tasks. We often think practice means escaping these things. But in truth, they are the soil where wisdom grows. Beauty is not found only in perfection. It also appears in cracks, in signs of time, in what is not yet complete. When you look at life with eyes that are not searching, everything becomes a path of practice. Tonight, take a moment to notice what in your life feels like mud and earth. And could it be that right there, something is quietly teaching you? Now, as the breath slows, we move into another story. A story of true mastery. Long ago, there was an archer famous throughout the land. His arrows never missed their mark. Fame brought him close to power, to praise, to admiration. One day, a young man came to him, bowed deeply, and said, "Please teach me the secret to never missing." The archer looked at him for a long time, then said, "Tomorrow, meet me on the mountain." The next morning, they stood at the edge of a deep cliff. Wind swept across the rock face. The master drew his bow, released an arrow into the open sky. Then he said, "Now you try." The young man trembled. His heart raced. His hands could not hold the string. At last, he stepped back. "I'm afraid. I can't." The master smiled gently. "That is exactly what you need to learn. When I shoot, there is only the bow, the arrow, and the open space. There is no me, no fear, no wanting. You are divided. One part acts, one part worries. When you are no longer split, the arrow knows its own way. The Buddha taught, the path is not in the result, but in the wholeness of each moment. Just like now, you do not need to try to sleep. You do not need to achieve anything. Just lie still. Feel the body being supported, the breath coming and going. When there is no one trying, sleep naturally opens its door. And finally, we arrive at a very gentle story. In a small village, a large stone lay across the road. People tried to push it, tried to break it, tried to dig it out. Nothing worked. They went to see a Zen master. He came, walked around the stone, and asked, "Why must it be moved?" "Because it blocks the road." The master nodded. "It blocks one path, but another can be opened." So they built a path around it. The stone became a resting place, a place to sit, a place where children played. Some things in life do not need to be removed. Only the way forward needs to change. Like thoughts, like emotions, like tonight. No need to force sleep. Just allow another path to open. Now, there is nothing more you need to do. Just listen to the breath and allow sleep to arrive, like water flowing around a stone. The villagers finally found their answer not by fighting the stone, nor by clinging to the old road. They found it by changing how they related to what stood before them. No longer asking, "How do I remove this?" but gently wondering, "How can I live with this?" Tonight, as you quietly look back at the difficulties in your life, you might try this way of seeing. Does what blocks your path really have to disappear? Or is it quietly pointing you toward another direction? The Buddha taught, no matter how heavy the past, each moment still offers a chance to begin again. Right now, right here, a new way of seeing can soften the entire road. And then, we move into another story. A very gentle one, about the power of letting go. Long ago, two young monks walked together along a muddy road after the rainy season. Mud reached their ankles. Each step was slow and heavy. At a bend in the path, they met a young woman standing by a deep puddle, unsure how to cross without soiling her clothes. Without a word, one monk stepped forward, gently carried her across the mud, and set her down on the other side. She bowed in gratitude and went on her way. The two monks continued walking. No one spoke. Until late afternoon, the other monk could no longer hold it in. "We have taken vows. Why did you do that?" The first monk replied calmly, "I left her by the bank long ago." "And you? Are you still carrying her?" The question fell like a small stone into the mind. Only then did the other monk realize the burden he carried was not a person, but judgment, doubt, and thoughts that would not let go. The Buddha taught, let go of the past, let go of the future, and even let go of the present to reach the shore of freedom. Letting go is not forgetting. It is not continuing to carry what has already passed. Often we are not tired from what we did, but from the thoughts that replay afterward. Meditation helps us see when we are carrying too much, and reminds us to set it down, right now. Tonight, you may try setting down what does not need to enter sleep. It will still be there in the morning, but tonight you can be lighter. Now, as the mind grows less heavy, we listen together to a story of inner stillness. In the heart of a busy city, there stands an ancient temple, steady through centuries. Outside, traffic noise. Inside, a calm that is hard to name. A young man who loved music came to visit the temple. He sat quietly, listening. And then, beneath the distant noise, he noticed a very small sound, steady, like breathing. A tiny cricket hidden inside an old wooden pillar. Surprised, he asked an elderly monk. The monk smiled, then dropped a coin onto the stone floor. The metallic sound rang out, and every head turned. "You see," the monk said softly, "people hear what they are used to listening for. True silence is not the absence of sound, but the presence of attention. When the inside is noisy, we cannot hear the quietest sounds. When the inside is still, even the smallest thing becomes clear. Tonight, you do not need to create silence. Just listen to the breath, the heartbeat, and the space between two thoughts." And finally, we arrive at a very simple story. A student asked his teacher, "I have practiced for a long time, but my mind is still restless." The teacher led him up the mountain. They sat beside a cliff, a wide valley opening before them. The teacher handed him a ripe strawberry. "Eat." He took a bite, and suddenly all worries vanished. Only sweetness and this moment. The teacher asked, "Where was your mind then?" "Here," the student replied. "That is the ease you are seeking," the teacher said. "Not in the future, not in the past, only where you truly are, just like now. Nothing more to do, nothing more to understand. Just allow sleep to gently arrive. In each small movement, in every breath that comes in and quietly goes out." The student slowly realized something simple. The peace he had been seeking was never far away, never in a special state, but always present in the most ordinary experiences of life. When walking, just walking. When breathing, just breathing. When chewing a strawberry, knowing only the cool sweetness slowly dissolving on the tongue. The Buddha taught, do not be caught in the past. Do not dream of the future. Rest fully in the present moment. The path to peace is not escaping the life being lived, but entering it completely. Any ordinary moment, when met with full presence, can open into something extraordinary. So why is it so hard to remain in the present? In the spirit of Zen, it is said that the mind is quietly pulled by habits. First, the habit of wandering in time. The mind drifts to what has passed or rushes ahead to what has not yet come. This movement happens so constantly that we forget we have left direct experience. Second, the habit of judging. The mind automatically labels everything, pleasant or unpleasant, wanted or unwanted, important or unimportant. This endless evaluation creates a subtle resistance to what is happening. Third, the belief that happiness must come from something special. That peace must look different, have different conditions than this ordinary life. And so we miss the quiet beauty already present in simple moments. In Japanese culture, there is a deep expression, ichigo ichi, one meeting, one time only. This moment, this breath, this sensation will never appear in exactly the same way again. When this truth is truly felt, presence is no longer a technique, but something natural. Because we wish to be fully here for the only gift this moment offers. Meditation nourishes this ability both in still sitting and in ordinary activities. When sitting, we gently notice the mind has wandered and kindly bring it back to the breath and the sitting body. When walking, eating, washing dishes, cleaning, we do the same. Returning again. The Buddha reminded us, the secret of well-being is not regretting the past or worrying about the future, but living fully in the present with awareness and sincerity. Tonight, as you prepare to enter sleep, bring this quality of presence into this very moment. Feel the weight of the body being supported by the bed. Notice the steady rhythm of the breath slowly calming. Sense each muscle softening naturally. Wherever you are, be fully there. In this complete presence is the peace that has been here for a very long time. And now, listen to a story about wiping away what obscures to return to our clear nature. This story is called Polishing the Mirror. A young novice monk, after many years of diligent practice, still felt he had not touched what he was seeking. One day, with genuine weariness in his heart, he went to his elderly teacher and said, "Master, I have practiced sincerely for 7 years, keeping the precepts, meditating, studying the sutras, yet I still feel as far from awakening as when I first began." The teacher did not answer immediately. He led the novice to an old room behind the temple. There, among dust and forgotten objects, stood an ancient mirror. Its surface was covered by the marks of time. The teacher asked, "Was this mirror made of dust?" "No," the student replied. "So if we wish to see ourselves clearly, what must be done?" "We must wipe away the dust." The teacher smiles and hands him a soft cloth. Day after day, the student patiently cleans the mirror. Dust that has gathered for years does not disappear easily. But little by little, very gently, the clear surface begins to appear. When the mirror finally shines, the teacher asks, "Did you create the mirror's ability to reflect?" "No, it was already there." The teacher speaks softly. "Your awakened nature is the same. Practice is not about creating something new, but about removing the layers of obscuration that have covered what has always been present." From that moment on, the student no longer strains to reach any special state. He simply notices each layer of dust and gently wipes it away. The mind is like a mirror. Thoughts, emotions, habits are only temporary dust. Tonight, before sleep, imagine the dust of a long day being wiped away very slowly. No hurry, no effort. The mirror has always been clear. And in that quietness, the story continues beneath the gentle moonlight hanging in the night sky. The farmer listens to the neighbor's congratulations. He nods slightly, offers a gentle smile, and says only the familiar words, "We'll see." The next day, his only son begins taming the wild horses. While struggling with the strongest one, the boy is thrown to the ground. A dull sound, and his leg is badly broken. The bad news spreads quickly. Neighbors gather again, this time with sighs and eyes full of sympathy. "How unfortunate," they say. "Your son can no longer work the fields. Harvest season is coming. This must be a disaster." The farmer listens calmly as always. He thanks them for their concern and replies gently, "We'll see." Only a week later, soldiers from the capital arrive in the village. A new war has been declared. All healthy young men are taken into the army. Everyone knows it is a dangerous war, and many will never return. Because of his broken leg, the farmer's son is left behind. Families whose sons are taken away come to the farmer's house in tears. They grieve for themselves, and at the same time marvel at what now seems like the farmer's good fortune. The farmer listens to everything. He adds nothing. He takes nothing away. And once again he says, "We'll see." The Buddha taught, do not rush to judge appearances. See the truth beyond the first form. This wisdom is fully present in this story. No event can be truly understood when separated from the web of causes and conditions. The meaning of each occurrence continues to unfold within an ever-moving network of interdependence. Why does the mind rush to label things fortunate or unfortunate? In the spirit of Zen, this comes from the habit of dualistic thinking. The mind likes to divide everything into pairs: good, bad, gain, loss, favorable, unfavorable. This division gives a sense of control, but it also obscures the complex, ever-changing nature of life. The Japanese call a mind that does not rush to like or dislike phubica, a mind that does not hurry to prefer or reject. The farmer lives with such a mind. He does not react hastily. He simply widens awareness and allows events to reveal their meaning in time. In the teaching of interbeing, all phenomena arise together. Nothing exists on its own. A horse running away leads to many horses returning. Many horses lead to an accident. An accident leads to avoiding war. Everything flows together in one unbroken stream. The Buddha once said, "If you truly see the miracle of a single flower, your entire life will change." Because within one small moment are countless depths that hurried judgment can never touch. Meditation helps us pause the reflex of labeling. To notice the instant the mind says gain or loss, good or bad, and to allow space to appear. Not to become indifferent, but to act without creating extra suffering. The farmer still acts when needed. He searches for horses, cares for his son, adapts to circumstances. But he does not carry the weight of fear or resentment. The Buddha taught, just as rain falls evenly everywhere, let loving kindness spread without judgment. When we stop rushing to conclusions, compassion naturally finds its place. Tonight, as you recall events you have labeled fortunate or unfortunate, try seeing them through the eyes of the farmer. The meaning of everything is still unfolding. Nothing is fixed. Everything is becoming. In this understanding, we learn to walk through life with balance and lightness. And now, allow the next story to gently lead you into a deeper layer of wisdom. It is called The Cup of Tea. A university professor, widely respected for his knowledge of philosophy and religion, went to visit a Zen master. He had read many scriptures, written many papers, and greatly wished to demonstrate his understanding. The Zen master received him simply and invited him to sit for tea. As the tea was being prepared, the professor began speaking endlessly about Zen, about schools and doctrines, about subtle comparisons. The Zen master listened in silence. When the water boiled, the master poured tea into the cup. He filled it and kept pouring. Tea spilled onto the table, overflowed onto the professor's sleeve. "Stop!" the professor cried. "The cup is already full." The Zen master looked at him and said slowly, "Your mind is like this cup, full of ideas and understanding. If it is not emptied, how can anything new enter?" In that moment, the professor fell silent. He bowed his head. From then on, he learned how to set things down in order to truly see. When the warrior lowered his sword, in that very brief instant, he touched something profound. From blind reaction back to conscious choice. From the flare of ego back to awareness. Meditation cultivates this capacity quietly and steadily. When we sit in meditation, we learn to notice emotions as they first arise without rushing to follow them. In daily life, mindfulness helps us recognize familiar triggers, habitual reaction patterns repeating again and again. And the teaching of non-self gently reminds us not to cling tightly to the image of me, for that very clinging is fertile ground for reaction and suffering to grow. The Buddha once said, "People are not punished for their anger. They are punished by their anger." Hell does not arrive as a punishment. It appears right within the experience of reaction itself. Likewise, heaven is not a reward. It naturally blossoms when there is awareness, compassion, and full presence. In everyday life, the gates of hell and heaven are constantly opening in very small moments. When we feel irritated by a slow car in front of us, a mini hell is created. When we respond with patience and gentleness to a child's mistake, a quiet door to heaven opens. These very small choices accumulate over time and create the overall climate of our mind. Tonight, as you gently drift towards sleep, observe whether your mind is creating unnecessary hells through worry, planning, or replaying the unfinished moments of today. You may begin to see that these are simply mind-made states, not absolute reality. And like the warrior, you can gently lower the sword. Choose awareness instead of reaction. Release the burning coal of anger, and you are no longer burned. Freedom is always very close, just one conscious choice away. Now, let your mind settle even deeper through another story. This story speaks of wisdom born from direct experience, not from searching outside. It is called Ryoan's Moon. Long ago in Japan, there was a Zen master named Ryoan. He lived alone in a small hut on a mountainside. No possessions, no comforts, and yet his face always glowed with a quiet ease that many wealthy people secretly longed for. One night, a thief slipped into the hut. He searched everywhere but found nothing of value. Ryoan was sitting in meditation in the corner. He heard everything. Without turning around, he said softly, "You've traveled a long way to get here. Please don't leave empty-handed. Take my robe." The thief froze. He hurriedly grabbed the tattered garment and disappeared into the night. Ryoan remained seated, bare-chested, watching the figure fade into the distance. He looked up at the bright moon spreading silver light across the mountains and sighed very gently. How unfortunate! I could not give him this beautiful moon. This simple story reveals a deep truth. While the thief searched for something he could carry away, Ryoan had discovered a wealth that could not be lost. The ability to appreciate beauty, the fullness of the present moment, and the freedom born from non-attachment. The Buddha taught, "Be grateful. If today you have not learned much, at least you learned a little. If you learn nothing, at least you are healthy. And if you are unwell, at least you are still alive." This spirit is the spirit of Ryoan. Why do we so often look for happiness where it doesn't need to be found? Meditation points to a few familiar reasons. First, the habit of accumulation. We believe that having more will make us happier. Second, confusing pleasure with well-being. Pleasure comes and goes. Well-being arises from how we live with what is already here. Third, forgetting ordinary miracles. The breath, nature, presence. We are so busy looking at what is missing that we fail to see what is enough. The Japanese spirit of wabi-sabi finds beauty in simplicity, imperfection, and impermanence. Ryoan's hut was poor in material things but rich because it held an open mind. Meditation helps us relearn how to cherish very small moments. Walking and knowing we are walking. Eating and truly tasting. Listening and truly hearing. The Buddha taught, health is the greatest gift. Contentment is the greatest wealth. In your own life, notice when you resemble the thief, missing the moon because you are busy searching for something else. Tonight, as you lie still, try gently asking, "Where is your moon?" It may be a deep breath, a sense of safety, a moment of being held. The path is not in the sky. The path is right in the heart. And from that quietness, another story gently unfolds. A story about choosing the right boat for each person's journey. Just as one chooses a suitable boat to cross a river, choosing a practice or a path in life requires deep listening to oneself. Not every boat fits every current. Not every method suits every state of mind, every stage, every capacity. On your path of inner growth or practice, there may have been times when you felt like a young student long ago, Confused by too many teachings, tired of methods that seem to contradict one another, or hesitant to go deeply into any path for fear of choosing wrong? Now, as night has fallen, as the body gradually softens, allow the image of a boat to gently appear in your mind. Feel into this. Which practices in your life have truly helped you suffer less, helped your mind settle, helped you return to a simple, quiet sense of ease? Not the practice that sounds the most profound, but the one that actually carried you through the tangled waters within yourself. The Buddha taught, the whole path of mindfulness is simply this: whatever you are doing, know clearly that you are doing it. This teaching is so simple that the mind often overlooks it. And yet, that very simplicity is the doorway to transformation. Not in the future, not in theory, but right here, in this very moment. And from here, we gently listen together to a story about the nature of true understanding. This is the story of the sound of one hand. Long ago in Japan, there lived a renowned Zen master named Hakuin. He was known for his strict teaching style and his strong emphasis on direct experience rather than intellectual knowledge. Among the Zen koans he used, there was one question both extremely simple and infinitely deep. What is the sound of one hand? One day, a young and earnest monk came to study with Hakuin. After some preparation, the master gave him this koan and said, "If you have not realized the sound of one hand, you understand nothing of Zen." The monk bowed and returned to his meditation, holding this question. A few days later, he came back and said, "Master, I understand. The sound of one hand is the sound of water flowing in a stream." Hakuin gently shook his head. "Not yet. Go back." A week later, the monk returned. "The sound of one hand is the wind moving through the pine forest." "That is still the sound of something," Hakuin replied softly. "Go deeper." Again and again, the student offered answers. The call of birds, the rustling of leaves, the distant temple bell. Each time, the master quietly refused. Months passed. Gradually, the monk stopped searching for a clever answer. The question no longer lived in his head, but soaked into his breathing, into his whole being. One morning, while sitting in stillness, something broke open. He ran to the master. When Hakuin asked, "What is the sound of one hand?" the monk did not answer with words. There was only complete presence, a direct response beyond concepts. Hakuin smiled. He knew the student had stepped out of seeking and into experience. The Buddha taught, the finger pointing to the moon is not the moon. Concepts point the way, but only direct experience is living truth. We often confuse understanding with knowing. Knowing through memory, understanding through thought, yet never touching reality with our whole being. Meditation does not give you more answers. Meditation dissolves the need to have answers. When the mind stops grasping, steadiness naturally appears. Tonight, as you lie down, allow yourself to not understand anything more. No need to sleep correctly. No need to meditate correctly. Just here. Just breathing. Just tired. Just allowed to rest. Do nothing at all, the Buddha taught. Just sit. And now we come to the final story. A story about the end of seeking. This is the story of the sacred mountain. Long ago in China, there was a young scholar named Li. He spent many years reading scriptures, debating doctrine, studying the spiritual path. Yet inside, he felt something was missing. Hearing of a hermit Zen master living on a sacred mountain, Li set out on the journey. The path was difficult. Steep slopes, slippery stones, deep forests. When he finally arrived, the master welcomed him with a simple cup of tea. Li asked, "Master, what is ultimate truth? What is enlightenment?" The master asked in return, "On your way up the mountain, what did you see?" Li spoke of steep paths, tree roots, wildflowers, clear streams and openings of sky between the trees. The master smiled. "The truth you seek was present in every step," he said. "In the effort, in the beauty, in the difficulty, in this cup of tea. There is nowhere else to go," the master said quietly. "Only here right now. This mountain is no more sacred than the ground beneath your home. This moment is no different from any other moment. We travel far only because we believe truth is far away. Meditation does not give you what you lack. Meditation shows you that you have never lacked anything." The Buddha taught, "If you can see the miracle of a single flower, your whole life will change." Now, as you gently drift towards sleep, let go of the idea that peace is somewhere else. No need to climb a mountain. No need to attain anything. Just remain with this breath, with this body, with this gentle tiredness, and allow sleep to arrive naturally, like a gift that has never left you. Each belief, even a very subtle one, can quietly create a rejection of the present moment. It turns us away from the sacred mountain we are already standing on. Tonight, as the journey of listening to these stories comes to a close, can you feel that the peace you are seeking is nowhere other than this very awareness? Can you sense that the wisdom in these stories is not distant, not belonging to the past, but alive in your direct experience right now? The Buddha taught, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." Ultimate truth is not hidden on a sacred mountain, nor sleeping inside ancient scriptures. It reveals itself in the miracle of ordinary awareness, the silent witness that has always been here throughout the entire journey we have just shared. Now, as our time together gently closes, softly reflect on the path woven from these ancient stories. Each story carries a different shade of wisdom, yet all point to the same simple truth, that ease, clarity, and wakefulness are always present right here, right now, not in a distant future or a special condition. The empty boat reminds us to notice when we project intention onto neutral situations. The monk and the tiger teach us to find joy in the present moment, even when life remains challenging. The two arrows show us that we can stop adding suffering on top of unavoidable pain. The mustard seed helps us see that loss and impermanence are shared by all human beings. And now, there is nothing more to do. Just rest. The farmer and the horse teach us to let go of judgment before life's ever-changing flow. The Buddha and the angry man remind us that we always have the choice to accept or release the negativity of others. The monk with the cup of tea shows that only through accepting impermanence can we truly appreciate what is here. The Buddha and the robe teaches us the nature of giving, real giving without grasping. Two monks and the river remind us not to carry burdens that have long outlived their usefulness. The cricket in the temple helps us notice the value of inner stillness, where subtle wisdom can be heard. The king and the laughing man show that contentment does not come from having more, but from fully receiving the present moment. The Zen master and the thief reveals the transformative power of giving. The archer teaches that full attention is the doorway to mastery. The heavy rock helps us learn to question our familiar assumptions. The empty bowl reminds us to live with a receptive mind rather than one full of judgment. The story of the farmer's work teaches balance through life's ups and downs. The monk's cup of tea shows that true understanding arises only when we empty the mind. The warrior at the city gate helps us see that heaven and hell are created right here in our own consciousness. Rioan and the moon remind us that the greatest treasures are always available when we learn to look. The right boat teaches us to choose practices that suit our own journey. The sound of one hand distinguishes between understanding conceptually and knowing through direct experience. The sacred mountain shows that what we seek through practice has never been absent from ordinary life. The Buddha said, "Three things cannot be hidden forever: the sun, the moon, and the truth." As you continue along your own path, May the truths illuminated through these stories remain with you, not as ideas to remember, but as invitations to live with deeper presence, wider compassion, and gentler wisdom. Thank you for sharing this silent journey with Moon Mind Temple. May you rest in peace, sleep deeply and gently, and when you awaken, carry the soft light of these ancient teachings into a new day. And now, there is nothing more you need to understand. No story left to remember. No path left to search for. There is only a gentle stillness holding you in this moment. Let all the words you have heard settle down like leaves falling onto the surface of water. No need to keep them. No need to reflect on them. Wisdom, once touched, does not need to be carried by memory. It stays on its own, in the slow rhythm of the breath, in the body as it rests, in the quiet space between two thoughts. If your mind still stirs softly, smile at that movement. If your mind has become still, allow that stillness to be exactly as it is. No need to try to sleep. No need to try to let go. Just allow yourself to slowly dissolve into the night, like the moon, which does not try to shine, yet its light is always present. Like the breath, which does not need to be controlled, yet flows in and out naturally. Sleep will come when you are no longer waiting for it. And as you drift into deep rest, everything that needs healing will be gently touched in its own way, without words, without effort. Rest now. Let your body and your mind be supported by this vast stillness. We are here not to lead you anywhere, only to remind you that you are already home. Sleep deeply, be at peace, and when morning comes, may you awaken with a lighter heart, a clear mind, and walk through life with the gentle presence that has always been within you. And if the night still feels long, let it be long. No need to hurry to the end. No need to reach for anything more. Only the breath remains, so deep, breathing in as if the cool, gentle space is softly entering you. Breathing out as if every burden is being set down without thought. Breathing in, the body knows how to rest. Breathing out, the mind knows how to soften. With each exhale, you may feel yourself melting a little more into the bed, into the darkness, into a vast calm that needs no name. If a thought drifts by, let it pass. Like a thin cloud, no need to follow it. If a memory arises, let it settle, like ripples fading on a quiet lake. There is nothing to do correctly, nothing to achieve. Right now, simply being is enough. The Buddha taught that when the body is at ease, the mind naturally grows calm. And when the mind is calm, wisdom appears, without being called. In silence, let sleep arrive, like an old friend. No knocking, no announcement, just sitting beside you, and gently covering everything with a blanket. You do not need to keep listening. No need to pay attention. Even these words may fade away at any moment. All that remains is the softness surrounding your body. All that remains is a kind darkness keeping you safe. In this stillness, everything unfinished is allowed to rest. Every question is allowed to sleep. Every effort is allowed to stop. Sleep now. Sleep deeply. Tonight, there is nothing to worry about. You're allowed to be at ease within yourself. And if there is a very small space between waking and sleeping, let that space be as gentle as night dew. No need to hold the breath. No need to follow sensations. Simply let everything unfold on its own, in an ancient rhythm. The body has always known. The breath continues, even if you are not watching. The heart keeps beating, even if you are not listening. Life knows how to care for itself. If outside sounds remain, let them become part of your sleep, like distant rain, like wind touching leaves. No need to decide what is near or far. If there is a trace of tension, allow it to soften, like a hand gently opening, when it no longer needs to hold on. You do not need to go deeper. Sleep will carry you. When all the doors are no longer being guarded, everything that felt important today may be set down for the night. Expectations can rest beside you like clothes neatly folded. Before sleep, what remains is a simple presence, without name, without form, breathing through. If the words grow faint, that is perfectly fine. If they blur, like echoes from far away, that is also perfectly fine. Sleep is very near, not ahead of you, not behind you, but waiting. Within this letting go, let awareness rest, like a child who has played all day and is now carried gently to bed. No lesson to remember, nothing to hold on to, only the night slowly closing over your eyes. Sleep now. So if dreams come, let them come. If not, this gentle emptiness is already enough. May you rest in peace. And sleep that asks for no effort, and now, even waiting itself, can dissolve. No listening, no you trying to sleep, only a smooth current, flowing, no beginning, no end. The breath, so light, it almost doesn't need to be there, thus becoming fewer, then falling away, like the last leaves of autumn. If a space opens, do not fill it. Let it hold you, as the sky holds the night. No need to stay awake. No need to sink deeply. Wherever you are is a place that is allowed. Deep sleep is not something you reach. It happens when no one is trying to go anywhere. These words suddenly disappear from your hearing. That is a sign. Everything is unfolding, just as it should. And if you still hear them, that is fine too. The night is wide enough to hold both. Let the body grow heavy, like the earth. Let the mind open, like space. No chanting, no contemplation, only far beneath all thought, there is a peace that has never been disturbed. You do not need to touch it. You are already within it. Sleep now. No need to remember when sleep began. Let the night continue for you, doing everything. And if the night has not yet closed, we gently return to the beginning, not to start over, but to keep dissolving into the same soft flow. The breath still arrives. The breath still departs, just like the moment you first lay down to rest. Nothing has changed, only deeper. If these words feel familiar, that is natural. The night does not move in straight lines. It moves in soft circles, like waves touching shore, and retreating like a distant bell, ringing and fading into silence. You do not need to know where you are. No need to tell beginning from ending. Every moment of rest is a new beginning. Every moment of letting go is a return home. If sleep has not come, let it come later. If sleep has already come, these words will drift away on their own. And then, as at the start, only gentle darkness remains. Only natural breathing remains. Only a quiet safety surrounding you. Nowhere else to go. Nothing more to understand. You are exactly where you belong. Sleep now, and if needed, let this circle gently begin again within the stillness that is present right now.